We are live on a Friday, guys. I cannot wait to be with you guys over the weekend, man. It is just that time of the year where football is just happening and it's happening really, really fast, man. We're going live just to answer any kind of fantasy football questions you have. I see I've already got some people in here. What's going on, Jeremiah? I'll go ahead and answer your question first right out of the gate. But let me first just say this. I appreciate all of you guys every single day. The audience is growing. You guys are very loyal. You guys are becoming a very loyal audience to me. And I really appreciate all the support you guys have given me over this time period. Now, with that said, I do think it's important to note here that we've really grown, more than usual over the past several weeks. So, with the new growth that we're experiencing, I'm having some trouble, catching up with every single question that is being asked right now. And so, I want to address every single question that I can, but I am a one-man show over here. So my time is limited. And today we'll only be on here for about 40 minutes or so. So if you do have your question that you need to get answered as soon as possible, or if you need to jump off or something like that, the best way to jump the line is to give me a donation through Super Thanks. It's always appreciated if you do. If you don't, I'm still going to try to answer your question because, like I said, I appreciate you guys very much. We've just been dealing with a big influx of volume of questions lately, and I'm a one-man show. It's hard for me to keep up with everything. But let's go ahead and just answer some fantasy football questions right now. So, Jeremiah Stainer, I want to go ahead and address your question first since you were first up. 10-team non-PPR, Jerome Ford and Nico Collins for Josh Jacobs. Which side would you rather have? So, yeah, to me, this one honestly just comes down to getting a player with the higher upside. And listen, I understand that, like, when you look up, someone like Nico Collins, right? Nico Collins, I believe, is the wide receiver 7 on the year so far. Let me vet that really quick. Nico Collins is the wide receiver 8.5 PPR on the year. He's got 20 targets through 2 games, got a touchdown. He's got over 200 yards in 2 games. I mean, that's legitimate wide receiver 1 numbers right there. So there's a case to be made that Nico Collins has way more upside than people thought. And I think he does. But I also do think that what we saw with Josh Jacobs last year, I mean, this guy is so clearly just a super high upside type of guy. And it's a very similar situation to last year in the sense of this guy's still looking for a contract, man. And so I think that a lot of the issues that Josh Jacobs is having right now is really as a result of him being not on the field essentially for months. I mean, he held out of Las Vegas for months during the summer. So I think that he's going to catch fire here soon. And I honestly think it could be, I'm predicting that it will be this week against the Pittsburgh Steelers. So I like getting Josh Jacobs personally. I think that Jerome Ford is going to be looked at by by a couple weeks from now as pretty overvalued on the waiver wire. I'm in a league where someone paid literally the full 100. Their full $100 fab to get Jerome Ford. I don't advise that. I think that's very ill advised to me. I think that's kind of a panic move right there. Jerome Ford is not going to be playing defenses as soft against the run as the Pittsburgh Steelers are, who are dead last in stopping the run. So I'd rather have Josh Jacobs personally. Guys, if you're just joining, I am answering all fantasy football questions I can. I'm only going to be on here for about 40 minutes total. So if you want to jump the line and make sure your question gets answered first, make sure to go down there and give a donation through Super Thanks. It's always appreciated, and that makes sure that you jump the line. But regardless of if you donate or not, I'm going to try to answer every single question I can today. Please make sure to like the video if it gives you value at some point, and subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so already. So Nathan, what's going on, man? 12-man PPR 2 flex starters are Tua, Ramondre, Kyron, Stephon Diggs, A.J. Brown, Mark Andrews, Keenan Allen, Chris Olave. Bench, Gus, Breece Hall, Jamal Williams, Hill, Harris, Rashid, Kendrick Bourne, Rashid, Hunter Henry. Thoughts? Any moves, trades? Yeah, I think that, it's all largely team dependent when you're making trades like this. And really it depends on who is in your league and what your standing, like what your record is right now. A team like that, to me, like, you've got a high upside quarterback, you've got a couple high end upside wide receivers, you've also got a top tier tight end. I mean, you've got plenty of wide receivers that honestly, I think that you're in a situation, Nathan, where you can honestly make an upgrade at the running back position because as good as Kyron Williams has been, I mean, he can't be your only one. And honestly, I just don't think that it's going to be super sustainable. And listen, I've been wrong about the Rams already this year. Maybe I'll be wrong again. But I think that at some point here, this is going to be a situation in Los Angeles where they're going to not be as good as they once were at the beginning. So I would personally try to move off of like Keenan Allen is the perfect trade target right now. He's the perfect sell high guy. I like Keenan Allen. I like to have him on my fantasy teams every single year, but he's also a guy that is older and he's also got an injury history. And so I think that the upside you can get for him just based on him being a top 5 wide receiver in fantasy right now, it's really high. And I think you can upgrade that running back position. That's the move I would really try to make. Should trade Kyron for Jonathan Taylor, but then my starting RB2 would be Breece Hall. Yeah, I wouldn't do the Jonathan Taylor move. I'm honestly very hesitant to I'm honestly very hesitant to trade for Jonathan Taylor right now because I don't know what his situation will be. Now, from what reports I've seen, is that Jonathan Taylor is going to come back and he's going to play in week 5 when he can. I heard he's already healthy. I don't know if it's going to be for the Colts or whoever. Like, it's been a very weird offseason situation with Jonathan Taylor specifically. So it makes me a little nervous about Jonathan Taylor, but I mean, the upside is still there. I would personally try to shoot, like, if you're trading Keenan Allen, I think you could upgrade him to a guy like Josh Jacobs. It is someone in that tier, personally. I think you could get like a Josh Jacobs, maybe a Travis Etienne, someone in that tier. I think you could go ahead and get, and those guys are healthy right now too. So you would get immediate production anyways. Jeremiah, thank you so much. I really appreciate it. Absolutely, man. This is what these live streams are all about, man. So let's see what else we got. Darren, Devonta Smith and Jacobs for Jefferson and Ford. Yeah, to me, I would take the Jefferson side because I think that Justin Jefferson is just like in a tier of his own. Like, he's in the Christian McCaffrey level tier of fantasy football. And listen, like, if we're going through wide receivers right now in fantasy football, I mean, we'll go through the top 10 right now and have PPR. Tyreek Hill's number 1, Deebo Samuel's number 2, Mike Evans number 3, Puka Nacua number 4, Justin Jefferson number 5, Keenan number 6, Devonta number 7, Nico number 8, Brandon Ayuk 9, and Stephon Diggs 10. So, like, there's a lot of guys right now that are in this top 10 that really don't belong there or haven't been there before. So, and this is always what happens every year. At the start of the year, new guys get off to a really good start. So I don't really look at it and say, like, maybe Justin Jefferson's going to have a bad year. Like, if you look at what he's doing on a per game basis, he's looking excellent. I mean, he's still hogging targets. He's still just a tremendous playmaker. Like, I'll take Justin Jefferson because the guy is honestly just a tier in his own. And picture this, like, if someone gave you, like, if you replace Justin Jefferson with Christian McCaffrey, like, that's a no-brainer. You pick Christian McCaffrey all day. Even though Devonta Smith and Josh Jacobs are really good, you still take that type of deal. So, yeah, I would take the Justin Jefferson side personally. Connor LaRose, what's going on? Pick 1 RB, 1 wide receiver, and 1 flex full PPR. Terry, McScary, Lauren, Jahan Dotson, Sutton, Warren, Josh Kelly, Ramondre, Drake London, Kenneth Gainwell, Jalen Warren. Not picking CeeDee Lamb at wide receiver 1 and Bijan at running back 1. So, yeah, those are obviously your 2 top dogs right there. Out of this list, man, I would definitely go with Ramondre Stevenson. He's definitely going to be on the list. I know he's got a tough opponent this week against the New York Jets, but the guy he's honestly bust-proof to me. Like, this guy he's played 2 really tough opponents already this season, Philadelphia and Miami, and the guy still is averaging like 14, 15 fantasy points per game. Like, it's not tremendous. He doesn't bring you like these boom games, but he's really steady and he's a very safe floor guy with the ability to get you 20, 25, 30-point games. So Ramondre is going to be one of them for sure. Yeah, I mean, Jahan Dotson has really been it's a concerning situation over there, I think, a little bit. Kenneth Gainwell, I'm not going to start just yet again because I do think that Kenneth Gainwell is going to have to battle it out with DeAndre Swift now that he went off. So to me, I'm gonna take someone like I'm gonna take someone like Josh Kelly as the other guy I'm gonna start at your flex spot because I think that Josh Kelly's matchup this week is so much better than last week. Like that's the thing about Josh Kelly, guys, is the matchup last week was bad. And I said it all leading up to the week. I was like, this matchup is not going to be good for Josh Kelly. And that's what happened. And people are getting off of him now because of that bad week. Backup running backs are very largely matchup dependent. And Josh Kelly's matchup last week was not good for him. So I'm back in on Josh Kelly this week because the matchup against who are they taking on? Josh Kelly. They're taking on the Vikings. It's a much better matchup. So the wide receiver I would go with here, out of all those guys, they're all relatively close to me, like Dotson, Sutton, Terry McLaurin. They're all kind of close. I would go with Drake London because I just like the player the best. And I was encouraged after watching it last week. Obviously, he goose egged in week 1, but week 2, he was definitely better, and he definitely got some things going. So I'll go ahead and play the upside play with Drake London. So, guys, the questions are starting to fill up already. I will only be on here for another 20 minutes or so. So if you want to make sure that your question gets answered, I will try to answer every single question that comes across me today. But if you want to make sure your question gets answered or you have somewhere to be, the best way to jump the line is to make a donation by going super thanks route. And that will make sure that you jump the line and I will answer your question right away. But regardless of if y'all donate or not, I love you guys. I love the community we're building here at Football Fanalysts Network. I'm going to try to answer every single question. That's just if you want to make sure that your question does get answered. And please make sure to like the video if it's giving you value and subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so already. So let's continue on with these questions right now. Louis Gallo, trade Fields for Jacobs. Yeah, so Justin Fields was a guy that I said during the week, I would really be – I actually said it today on my video today, which is that he's a guy I would trade in the right circumstance. Like, I'm not trying to sell Justin Fields for nothing. Like, I'm not selling him for Kirk Cousins or Jared Goff, right? Like, that's not what I'm trying to do. I'm not trying to get off of him by any means necessary. What I'm trying to do here with him is I am trying to make sure I can get equal value or just as high upside. So to me, I would need a quarterback in that deal right there. I don't think that drafting Justin Fields where you did, you probably have a good backup. But if you do, I mean, that's an option I would definitely consider as well. Tyler Sperry, thank you for the donation, man. It's much appreciated. Goff or Love, Pittman or Josh Reynolds. Yeah, so Goff or Love this week. So, Jared Goff and the Detroit Lions, they're taking on this. No, they played the Seahawks last week. Detroit is playing the Falcons this week. So matchup's not bad, but it's not great, right? Like those are relatively similar matchups to what they had last week versus Seattle. And Goff is going to be consistent. Like Goff, his good thing that he has on his side right now is he's got so many weapons, even without Jamison Williams. Like Josh Reynolds stepping up to the plate this year. I mean, who would have thought that before the season? The guy looks really good. And obviously, Amon-Ra's great. And Jahmyr Gibbs without David Montgomery, he's going to feast, I think. So he's just got a great offensive line. They're at home this week. And Green Bay, the problem with them this week is they're going up against the Saints. Although he's been really good this year, I'm going with Goff in this matchup. I think he's the better player. I think he's got better weapons and just a better offense in general. And then between Pittman or Josh Reynolds, as we were talking about, I'll go with Michael Pittman. It's a situation where obviously if you haven't seen the news today, the news is that Anthony Richardson is not playing. So he got a concussion in last week's game against the Ravens and not the Ravens, the Houston Texans, and he is not going to play. So Gardner Minshew, it's Minshew time right here. So, I think that what it comes down to in this matchup for me, for Michael Pittman, and why I'm picking him over Josh Reynolds is that Michael Pittman is the wide receiver one. And I do think that matchup-wise, they're going to have to throw the ball because I think the Ravens will definitely win this game, and I think they'll probably win handily. And so I think that, Josh Reynolds, I could definitely see where this is kind of a game script where they run a lot because Atlanta's just such a run team. that they're going to hold on to the ball for a long time. And Detroit will want to hold on to the ball too to get their defense off the field. So I'll go with Pittman here and then Goff at quarterback, man. So, guys, I'm only on here for about 20 minutes. If you're just joining me, please make sure to drop your question in the comments below. I love you guys. I'm going to try to get through everything. But if you want to make sure your question gets to the top of the priority list and gets answered right away, go ahead and drop in a super thanks right there. And that will make sure that your question gets answered the very soonest as possible. Regardless of if y'all donate or not, I'm trying to answer every single question on here in the chat. So please make sure to like the video if it's giving you value and subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so already. So let's keep it moving. Darren got Eckler, Kyron Williams, and Robinson with Nico, Godwin, Judy, and Cooper. That's good. Yeah, that's a pretty good lineup right there. I mean, Eckler's obviously in a situation where I'm worried about Austin Eckler a little bit. I don't know what the severity of this injury is because they won't tell us. Like, the Los Angeles Chargers are, like, this is just aside from the point, but, like, their coach, Brandon Staley, I don't think he's a very good coach. And I think that, he doesn't give information. Like, this Austin Eckler injury, we don't know what the severity is. Like, I saw a report today that he said he's trying to get back as soon as possible, but I mean, who knows, man? I mean, this guy could miss a long time. So, yeah, it's a little worrisome to me, but I mean, obviously the upside is so high. Nick Keller, what's going on? Half-point PPR. My running backs are Mostert, Kelly, Moss, Hall, and Williams. I need to start 3 of them. Any thoughts? Yeah, so I got plenty of thoughts here. So you're in half PPR, which means that, the points per reception is obviously cut in half from a full PPR standpoint. And I think that, when you're looking at guys like Raheem Mostert, like Mostert is a great start to me in half PPR a lot of times because you saw it last week against New England. This guy's capable of the big plays. So, like, Raheem Mostert to me is a great play. And so I would go with I would definitely go with Mostert as one of those guys. And if you're talking about Kyron Williams, he's the other guy I would go with personally. Kyron Williams, to me, I mean, he's been too good to ignore. I mean, that's the reality here. So I would go with Kyron and Mostert. Daniel, appreciate the donation, man. Flex Judy, Hollywood Brown, or Rachaad White full PPR. So obviously, when we're talking about Jerry Judy's in a situation where he didn't, like, it was a bad debut last week. It was a bad debut, and it was definitely disappointing. I'm not really ready to get off of Jerry Judy yet. Like, he made my top 30 wide receiver rankings this week. And it's because, like, he's clearly the best wide receiver in Denver. And the offense it's not great still. Like, they still have Russell Wilson, who clearly at this point is over the hill. But it's not as bad as it was last year. Like, last year was embarrassing for basically the whole season. It's not that bad this year. They're efficient. And I think that Jerry Judy, similar situation to Josh Jacobs in the sense where he didn't get a ton of time during the offseason to train because he missed a bunch of weeks leading up to the season because of that hamstring injury. So I think Judy is better in the long run. I think that we start to see it again this week. Hollywood Brown, I just don't want anything to do with this week against the Dallas Cowboys. I know that Trayvon Diggs is out for the season. That's a bummer, by the way. But I just am not a big fan of this Arizona Cardinals offense. I think week to week, they could be responsible for getting you 0 points. And Rachaad White, I think that Rachaad White is going to be the guy that I go with here reluctantly. Even though it is against Philadelphia this week, the guy definitely has pass catching upside. And that's exactly what they're going to need to do. They're going to need to throw the ball to catch up in this game. So they're all relatively close to me, but I'll go ahead and go with my gut here. My gut is telling me to go with Rachaad White. Again, man, I appreciate the donation. And if you want to make sure your question gets to the top of the list, I've got about 10 more minutes left. So make sure, if you want to get your question answered for sure, go ahead and drop a super thanks in the chat below. That shoots you up to the top. Regardless of if y'all donate or not, though, I'm trying to answer every single question within the next 10 minutes here. So let's keep it moving here. Tyler Sperry, Pittman, or Josh Reynolds, Goff or Love? Yep, we've got that one covered. Kelly or Madison this week? Yeah, I'm going with Joshua Kelly. Alexander Madison has been disgusting. I mean, it's been so bad watching him play football this year. And it's a guy that I was really big on before the season started. So big disappointment for sure. To me, this is a situation where I'm going with the guy who's in a better matchup as well. Not that the Vikings have a bad matchup against the Chargers at all, but to me, like the Vikings defense is a great matchup for running backs. And Josh Kelly last week got stifled against they got stifled against the Tennessee Titans, and I knew that was coming, and I kept saying that because Tennessee, as bad as they are defending the pass, they're a very, very good run defense team. That's what their strength is on defense. So yeah, to me, it's just a situation where I'm going with the guy who's got higher upside as a player. He's at a better offense. I'll go ahead and take Joshua Kelly this week. Guys, please make sure to like the video if it has given you value so far and subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so already. I'm trying to make sure I get every single question answered. So, Adrian Torres Vista, would you trade Garrett Wilson and Samaje Perine for Hopkins, Javonte Williams, or is Garrett Wilson for Mike Williams straight better? Yeah, so Garrett Wilson and Samaje for Hopkins and Javonte. Hopkins is definitely like more consistent than Mike Williams is, but the upside isn't quite as high. And that's sometimes like depending on how you feel about playing fantasy football, could be a good thing, right? Like I tend to prefer I tend to prefer DeAndre Swift in fantasy football. The only time I would prefer a guy like Mike Williams is in a best ball format where I don't have to make that start sit decision every single week. So to me, I would go for Garrett Wilson and Mike Williams straight up. Definitely want to get off Perine for sure, but I think that I'm sorry. I would go for the Hopkins and Javonte side because you definitely want to get Perine off your team as well as Garrett Wilson. And I think that DeAndre Hopkins is basically just as high upside as Garrett Wilson is at this point. And he's going to be a lot more consistent because of the offense that he's in. Daniel Orton, I need a flex, Judy Hollywood Brown or Rashad White. Yep, we got that one. Let's keep it moving. Not 33. Would you trade Mark Andrews and DJ Moore for Brian Robinson and Hawkinson? Man, these are honestly really close right here to me because obviously Mark Andrews, TJ Hawkinson, they're basically, 2A and 2B as far as tight ends go in fantasy football. Right now, it looks like TJ Hawkinson is the better choice, but it's week 2. I mean, we're heading into week 3, and so it's too early to tell what the long-term value will be between those two guys. They're both high for both of those guys, but we don't know which one's better. And we're really splitting hairs here because, like, Brian Robinson's not a guy that I prefer this year in fantasy football. But DJ Moore, like, this Chicago Bears team is falling apart. It's really going to get ugly, I think, in Chicago. So I don't want DJ Moore either. Man, this one depends on your team makeup. Like, if you're running back heavy and you've got guys like, Bijan Robinson and Josh Jacobs and, Travis Etienne. You've got guys like that, and you've got a really sweet running back room. I would take the DJ Moore side, but if you've got a sweet wide receiver room and you could just expend DJ Moore, I would take Brian Robinson. So it really does depend on your team makeup a little bit right here. SWA trade. I get AJ Brown, Etienne, and Hopkins. He gets Wilson, Gibbs, Hollywood, and Myers. Take the trade. Yeah, I love it. First of all, AJ Brown is such a great trade buy low guy this year. I mean, I said it earlier in the week. He's my favorite buy low guy of the week, even before Jamar Chase, because Jamar Chase, as great as he is, he's got more questions at this point with Joe Burrow's injury than AJ Brown does. AJ Brown is literally just a week away from going off. He scored a touchdown in last Thursday night's game that got called back. So he's going to be fine, guys. This is a great situation. Etienne had the down week. A lot of people may be down on him. Tank Bigsby's still a name that people care about for whatever reason. He had 0 touches last week, but yeah, take AJ Brown and Etienne for sure, man. Guys, I've got about 5 minutes left on this live stream, so I've got a ton of questions to get through, man. I probably won't make it through all of them. I'm going to try, but if you want to make sure your question gets answered, go down there, drop a super thanks to me, and that is the best way to shoot at the front of the line here. Either way, I appreciate y'all, guys. Make sure to like the video if it's given you value so far and subscribe to the channel if you have not done so already. So let's continue to try to work our way through everything right now. 10-team PPR, one halfback, two wide receivers, two flex, 1-3, 8-team playoff traded for Mostert, Evans, Kelly, for Judy, Chase, have Cup, JT Demara, Kamara, IR. Yeah, I mean, those 8-team leagues are definitely different than normal fantasy football. Normal is like 12-team leagues. Like you can have stacked rosters. I was reading that roster and I was like, man, that's a pretty stacked team. But yeah, those 8-team leagues they're fun to play in for sure if you've got the right league. Isaiah Land, what's going on? Kyron and Ridley for Christian McCaffrey. Yeah, I mean, if you could swing that, that's excellent. Like, if you can get Kyron or Christian McCaffrey, do it for sure. Like, that's a no brainer. It's like we were talking about earlier with Justin Jefferson. You take Christian McCaffrey, you get him. I don't know if you're going to be able to do that. Kyron Williams, you could sell him on the fact that he's the running back 2 right now in fantasy football. That's a tough one though. Christian McCaffrey is very much like, in the world of fantasy football stocks, like he's just top tier. You know what I mean? So yeah, it's a situation where I think that you know it'll be tough, but if you can do it because that's such a great trade. Not 33, pick 2, DJ Moore, Godwin, and Addison. Yeah, so this week, DJ Moore and Godwin are close to me. I'll go DJ Moore because I know that they're going to have to keep up with Kansas City. And I know that he's the wide receiver 1 as opposed to Godwin, who's not the wide receiver 1. And I'll easily go Jordan Addison. You got to ride the wave right now with Jordan Addison, man. He is on fire, pro-ready rookie. I had a lot of love for that guy during the draft portion, during the offseason in Dynasty. Got a lot of love for Jordan Addison, man. John Collins, when is the kicker video being posted? Yeah, so I am trying to. So essentially, this week was kind of a tougher week for me. I had to leave my studio for a little while, for a couple days, and I was dog sitting for a dear friend of mine, and so I was in his room, and the studio downgrade was huge here, so I was kind of running behind on videos this week. So I'm trying to make sure that gets posted to you guys tonight. But if not, if it doesn't get posted this week, make sure that you know that we will be back on the normal schedule next week. Kicker video will be up next week and the following weeks for sure. So I may not have time right now, but I definitely will make sure that video gets posted in the following weeks. Those videos will be back up and running. A couple more minutes, guys. I'm trying to get through all these questions, but I probably won't be able to make it. So Tebow, start 2. Puka, Kyron, Collins, Dotson, and Addison. Yeah, so I mean, to me, like, you've got 2 Rams on the team. I think that it doesn't matter to me, to be honest with you. They're guys that, like Kyron Williams this week. The Rams are taking on the I just gone over these matchups. Yeah, they're on Monday Night Football taking on the Bengals. So to me, Kyron's going to be one of them for sure. And just based on the fact that you might not want 2 Rams starting, I would go with Jordan Addison here because his upside is maybe not quite as high just because he's not the wide receiver 1, but his upside is still really, really high. So that's what I'll go ahead and do here. Guys, please make sure to like the video if it's giving you value and subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so already. I've got a couple more minutes. I'm going to try to get through as many of these questions as I possibly can. Kyle Ellis, would you trade Amari Pacheco for Swift, JSN, and Hunter Henry 10-team PPR? Amari's on my bench right now because I have Chase, Amon-Ra, and Puka. Good information right there. In need of a running back as well. I wouldn't do this personally because I think that, as much as I love Jackson Smith and Jigba, he hasn't shown enough yet for his value to be that high to trade Amari Cooper. Like, Amari Cooper is a set-in-stone wide receiver 2, low-end wide receiver 1, high-end wide receiver 2. Hasn't been great for him yet. It's going to come for sure, especially without Nick Chubb. They're going to have to lean on Amari Cooper a lot more. So I would hold on this one. I think that Pacheco is actually, believe it or not, I actually believe that Pacheco is going to be a better fantasy running back long-term than Swift is. I'm curious to see what happens with the Swift and Kenneth Gainwell breakdown of touches, because to me, it's unstable, and I would be really worried about that if I was a DeAndre Swift owner. So I'm going to hold on doing that right now. I just don't think that I have enough information to really dictate whether I think that DeAndre Swift is going to be as valuable long term as he was in week 2 fantasy football. So, guys, that's it for me today. It had to be a sort of live stream. Go ahead, please make sure to like this video if you got value from it and subscribe to the channel if you have not done so already. Like I said, the kicker video, if it's not up tonight, we will be back on the normal schedule next week. There's no excuses. I'm a one-man show over here. I'm trying to get it all done for you guys, man, but it will be done next week for sure. So, guys, I will see you guys in tomorrow's start, sit, wide receivers, and running backs video for sure. I'll see you guys on Sunday's live stream as well. So, guys, take care. Have a good Friday. See y'all tomorrow.